Client has 4 children, one of which is adopted and is a permanent resident over at Springbrook, which is a wonderful care facility in our location that takes care of individuals who are never going to be able to take care of themselves. We love Springbrook. They do a great job. We have a couple of places like that. We have Pathfinder Village in the area, which is for children with Down syndrome, and then we have Springbrook, which is for children with developmental delays and behavioral disorders that won't be able to live on their own. And they provide incredible care for all of these people in our community. It's actually one of the reasons a lot of people move into our community, is to make sure that their children have access to those resources. Thinking about that, having 3 children that are different, that are all capable and competent, and then having one child who is disabled, the client came in and was expecting me to recommend that we would be disinheriting the disabled child. And that was what he wanted, was let's just do a will. We'll cut out the disabled child, because if he receives any additional money in his own name, he's going to lose funding. And currently Springbrook manages for them all of the money in and out of his account. So he has, he gets his disability, he gets his social security, it goes into his account. He can't have over a certain amount or he would lose funding to services. So the natural inclination of our client was to say, let's disinherit him, we'll let the other kids take care of it. And I had to have that conversation of, that is a very bad idea. Not necessarily for the reasons that you think, right? So your child is set up right now and is doing wonderfully in Springbrook. We love them. We hope that they last forever. However, laws change, budgets change, and funding changes over the years. So if you have a child that is in that situation, that is living in a facility service, and the laws change, it could be that those services end up being removed by the legislature. They end up not having access to it. The funding goes away. And children like that are so vulnerable, because if that law is removed and those services are removed and Springbrook has to get a budget cut or grants and they can't do those services anymore, it's not like that child is going to be able to go get a job to earn their way, right? They're not going to be able to go earn more money. So if you disinherit them, you are basically cutting them off of access from the future of any capital they might need if these rules change. So I had to have a long conversation, because the answer then was, well, if that does happen, which I don't think it will, we live in a blue state, we live in a pretty affluent area, wouldn't the siblings just pitch in and help? And I thought that was a really interesting perspective, because ideally, yeah, your siblings would pitch in and help. However, we're not talking about tomorrow. This isn't going to happen in 2 years or 5 years. And the siblings are currently in their mid-20s. They're looking at growing families. They're not married yet, but they might be. And all I could think of is, in 20 years, the siblings are going to be in their 40s. If they did choose to have a family or husbands, they're going to have their own lives. They're going to have their own career paths. They're going to have their own concerns and worries. And making that choice for them 20 years from now of whether or not those siblings have to choose, you're basically setting them up to choose. Do we give the money to our children, or do we give the money to our brother who needs it more? My kids that are going into college, or my brother who's going to be out on the street? Your children don't deserve to have to make that decision. That's the decision that you should make for them. And the things that I can do that can help you is I can create a special trust for the child that's sitting in Springbrook that will hold money for them, that can be invested, that can get its own source of income, that we can then administer for them for any of the extras that the state doesn't need. Any of those extras that wouldn't necessarily, that it wouldn't necessarily pay for. Things like vacations, hobbies, extra clothing, stuff like that. And then at the time that that child passes, any money that's still left in that account, that's still left in that trust, would go to the other siblings and their heirs and family. So it's a way that we can keep the wealth in the family, and that's a way that we can make sure that our children are not our brother's keepers. I was really excited because the client immediately latched onto it, understood exactly what I was saying, and completely agreed that that would be the best path moving forward.